Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brian Lesser.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's great to see so many people out for our Upfront event, so many old colleagues and friends. I have the great pleasure of being CEO of Xandr, which is a relatively new job for me. Before this, I ran Group M in North America, so I've been a part of the Upfront week for a very long time. And I happen to love Upfront week. I know we've got a lot of seasoned buyers in the room, seasoned advertisers, and it's very fashionable, kind of like Cannes, to roll your eyes when you talk about Upfront week. It's like, oh, I've got to spend a week in New York and hang out with celebrities and go to great concerts and have great meals. Well, my advice is enjoy that. Take the selfies with celebrities, stay out a little later than you would normally stay out, have a few more drinks than you might have, and enjoy the glitz and glamour of Upfront week. But you're not going to get any of that this morning. The biggest celebrities we have here in the room are Donna and Mark Wright. And, you know, and they're, yeah, I know, I mean, to me, they're celebrities. And all of you are celebrities. But you know, the reason I love Upfront week is I love the advertising business. And a big part about what I'm going to talk about today is how the advertising business is changing. And frankly, the Upfront still operates in many ways like it did 20 years ago or even 40 years ago. But the fact is the advertising business has changed, and the way consumers consume content has changed, and the way consumers interact with advertising has changed. So we are the company that is changing advertising. And just to level set on what we do, so Xandr is an advertising company. We're part of AT&T. We sell about $2 billion worth of advertising a year, and we sell advertising in television and in video and across all digital products. I'll tell you more about that. But our growth, and we grew 26% in the first quarter, so we're growing at a rapid clip, is driven by advanced advertising. It's driven by the application of technology and data to premium advertising environments. And so we like to talk about the precision of digital, what you all love about digital advertising, which is the ability to target an audience and measure that and have advertising that drives ROI, with the power of TV. Because I think everybody in this room still loves TV and recognizes that consumers love TV. So that's Xandr, 1,600 employees strong, many of whom are in the room today. Hopefully, if this all goes well, they will get with you and try to sell something to you. Because in fact, it is Upfront week. And there's going to be $20 billion of money that is transacted over the next few weeks or few months as part of this process. And that's for good reason. The reason why so many buyers commit in the Upfront is that television is still the greatest medium in the world at reaching consumers, at reaching those consumers in premium environments at massive scale. It's the best medium in the world at doing that. And it's smart to take the variability off the table and lock in prices. I will also tell you that it's smart to do business with Xandr in the Upfront. Because if you commit to us in the Upfront, you're going to get our best data, our best inventory, our best products, and our best people that are going to work with you over the course of the year. So we want to be a part of this Upfront, and that's why we're putting on this presentation today. We're going to give you lots of ideas of how you can engage with Xandr, but more importantly, how you can be more sophisticated in terms of thinking about advanced advertising. Now, $20 billion are going to be transacted in the Upfront, but the fact is the television business is changing. If you look at, for example, how younger audiences are interacting with television, we know that that's changing. So 4 years ago, about 50% of the television viewing audience in this country were adults 18 to 49. Fast forward 4 years, and that's at 36%. So we know that the proportion of young viewers watching television is shrinking over time. And what is that leading to? Well, that's leading to a decline in ratings. Of course, we all know that ratings are declining in traditional television. So there's a 12% ratings decline last year. And if you look at light TV viewers, that's double. So a 24% decline in viewership amongst light TV viewers. And so what does that mean? It means that those that are continuing to watch TV are still a great audience to reach, but you end up getting too many impressions delivered to those heavy TV viewers, and it's becoming harder and harder to reach light TV viewers. And that's because consumers are changing how they interact with content and where they interact with content. Instead of only watching linear television, they're now watching great content across multiple devices and multiple channels. So we did a lot of research at Xandr. We interviewed 3,000 people about how they consume content and their attitudes towards advertising. And in fact, there's some really good news in how people think about content and how they think about advertising. The first is that consumers are watching more content than they've ever watched before. 4 years ago, they spent about 8 hours a week with content. Now they consume about 10 hours a week with content. So people are watching more and more content. And of course, that's because there's more great content than there's ever been before in the history of man. It's just that they're not necessarily watching it on linear TV. They're watching it across multiple channels. 40% of the people that we interviewed watch over 20 hours of content a week. And so content is becoming even more meaningful in consumers' lives. And we think that that's really beneficial to our business in terms of making advertising matter to consumers. They're watching more content, but of course, consumers are in more control than they've ever been because they can enjoy that content across more devices. And so 2/3 of the people that we interviewed in our research are now watching great content across linear and digital. 25% of the population we interviewed is watching across digital only, and 10% is watching linear only. And of course, the challenge for all of us as media buyers, as advertisers, as marketers, is finding those consumers across those channels. We still want to buy television because television is still the best medium to reach massive audiences at scale, but we also want to follow those consumers as they migrate to digital channels. And that can only be done with the application of technology and data across multiple points of distribution. So how, in this new environment of consumers enjoying their content in more places, do consumers think about advertising? Well, I grew up in the advertising business. My father ran advertising agencies. I spent my entire career in the advertising business. And I hate it when I tell people I'm in the advertising business and they say, oh, I hate advertising. It drives me crazy. Hopefully it drives all of you crazy. And so we commissioned this study partially to dig in and really better understand how consumers feel about advertising in this new environment where content is available in so many different places. And of course, there's lots of things that you already know. Consumers think in traditional television that 16 minutes of commercial time an hour is too much. It's too heavy a load. They hate repetitive commercials. And again, part of this problem with light TV viewers is that if you're a heavy TV viewer, you tend to see the same ads over and over and over again because it's incredibly hard to control frequency in traditional television. They also hate irrelevant ads. They want ads to be more relevant to them, even in a traditional television environment. So rather than listen to me, why don't we listen to some of the consumers we interviewed about their attitudes towards advertising. Roll the video, please.
It has to intersect with my interest.
If it's something that I want, like sponsored posts, if it's something that I'm really interested in, I actually don't mind seeing it. But then if it's something that I'm not interested in, like I remember there was like an advertisement for like camping material, and I'm like, I live in the concrete jungle. There will be no camping for me ever at all. So that's something that to me, it's of no use.
The drug commercials that come on, let's say. I'm not on any medication, so nothing of that pertains to me. You just automatically tune it out. So to me, then it's not relevant.
I see something pop up on my phone that I just went on. I kind of like it in a way because it helps me like navigate faster.
If it's something relevant and it feels on like appropriate platform to be like, okay, well, this is the product that I'd actually be interested in. But I think as it's kind of become more and more commonplace, it doesn't bother me as much.
I don't have a problem with something that's going to help me. I have a problem with something that's going to annoy me.
So I've got a great idea. Let's just kill all advertising because, no, that's a terrible idea. If you look at the amount of money being spent on content, we're in the sort of golden age of content production, right? And so this chart shows you the amount of money that was spent in 2018 on original programming. And of course, we know Netflix spends $12 million a year, NBC Universal $11.5 billion a year. Warner Media spent close to $9 billion last year, and Randall Stevenson is going to talk about today the fact that we're going to spend close to $14 billion this year on original content. And so when I look at this and all of the new entrants in terms of original content development, I think all of this great content cannot possibly be paid for through subscription services alone. I love Netflix as much as the next person, but I also recognize that I can't have a dozen different subscriptions to access great content. And so the world needs advertising, just as the world needed advertising when content was first being developed. We just need it to be better. We need it to be better, more relevant to consumers, more targeted. And when you talk to consumers about that bargain of, do you realize you can get great content without necessarily paying for a subscription, they also understand that. So in our research, 82% understand that ads need to exist. They understand that advertising subsidizes great content. And we think over time that's going to be important as there becomes a resistance to having too many subscription services. Price elasticity won't last forever in terms of what you can pay for Netflix or any other SVOD service. 79% say it's a great feeling when a brand helps them find a product they didn't know they wanted. So even in the short clips that we showed you from the people we interviewed, you heard things like, it's great when I actually see something that I didn't realize I wanted or I know I wanted and I'm introduced to a brand. The D2C brand revolution is a lot about making sure that the right brands, the right products get as close to the consumer as possible through relevant advertising. And we think that's going to continue. 52% said that they need to see an ad to make them think a show is worth watching. Many in this room will know that a big business for us is the tune-in business. We show advertising to consumers to drive them to certain programming, thereby increasing the ratings of the programming and increasing the value of advertising. It's one of our biggest, most popular categories because of this fact. That over 50% of people say that when they see an ad for a program, they're more interested in that program and it drives them to watch the program. And finally, 67% of the people we interviewed believe that advertising supports an open, democratic, and free internet. We don't want to get to a place where it's only walled gardens of information, it's only walled gardens of content. We want to make sure that we're providing open platforms supported by advertising. Again, this doesn't necessarily mean 16 minutes of commercial load in an SVOD or AVOD-like environment. We're doing the work to make sure that advertising formats are improved, that they're closer to commerce, that they're more integrated into content. And when we do that, we believe that advertising can live harmoniously side by side content. And so what's the formula for that? How do we think about constructing new formats? Well, consumers want relevancy. And we think that relevancy is meeting a consumer need at the right moment in time and hopefully evoking an emotion. Part of the problem with large digital platforms is that you get to the lowest common denominator of advertising creative. You bludgeon people with retargeting ads, and that's not a great way to build a brand. Television advertising is a great way to build a brand over time, and TV advertising in all its forms is still very important to how we generate awareness and eventually convert into an ROI-driven marketing program. The other thing I'll say here is that the environment in which you show advertising is very important. The platform in which you show advertising is very important. Research shows that when consumers trust the platform, when they trust the content, they're much more likely to tune into the advertising and trust the advertising message. And that's a big part of what we're building at Xandr. So consumers still love television, and this week is really about television. But we know that the way television is consumed is changing, and we think about television in all of its forms or new TV. TV is consumed over tablets, over mobile devices, over the internet. And our job is to bring together the assets of AT&T, including from our colleagues at Warner Media, to make the experience better for consumers, but importantly for everybody in this room, to make sure that you can connect with those consumers and ride this trend into a very, very effective marketing programs. So what is that advantage for us? Well, we have very unique assets. We're the #1 distributor of television in the world through DirecTV, and we have some of the most popular OTT apps and SVOD services, and there will be more coming later this year. We have tremendous first-party data. So we have over 170 million customer connections. And we've already done the hard work within Xandr to bring all of the data from across AT&T together and unify that against one unique customer ID. We have incredible content. Not just the content that we have within Warner Media, which is the best content in the world, and we hope that you visit Donna and her team tomorrow to hear about the great content and the great advertising programs that they're bringing to market in the Upfront. But we also represent over 100 networks through DirecTV. So it's our owned and operated content, and it's also through our distribution, all of the networks that we represent. And then finally, it's technology. Last summer, we brought AppNexus. AppNexus is not just the underlying technology for our digital business. It's those engineers that we're applying to our TV and video business to make that more efficient and to attach that data to advertising in all its forms across multiple channels. So to ride this wave of consumers consuming content across more channels, we're now bringing to market a new product called Community. Community is a curated marketplace of publishers that enables brands to reach their audiences at scale in brand-safe, premium environment. We want to make sure that if you're a customer of Xandr, and we've already found your audience in addressable television or television advertising, we've now got the ability to migrate that to digital video. OTT, digital video, traditional digital video, mobile environments, connected TV, all of those formats are now available for you to buy today through Community. We purposefully called this Community, and we didn't brand it Xandr, because this is not necessarily about Xandr. We are the technology platform that's powering this, and we are the data and insights that are going to power this. But this is about helping media companies, digital publishers, and traditional media companies connect better with consumers, monetize inventory at the highest value possible. And it's about advertisers. It's about advertisers following that journey of consumers from traditional television to digital channels. These are some of the publishers and media companies that are associated with Community. There are others not listed here that are big partners of ours that we'll be talking about in the future. And it's important to note that this is open for business today. This is not an idea. This is not something that was dreamed up by a consulting firm. This is a marketplace powered by real technology that's been operating for years. It's a marketplace powered by data that we have already gathered from across AT&T and made available through data sets that are inside this marketplace. And it's premium. It's only premium content, TV-like content, with formats that will be evolving over time. So this is a big moment for Xandr. It allows us to introduce you to true cross-channel marketing, and we think that this is worthy of your consideration in this upfront season. Now, to talk more about other tactics that we hope you'll employ, I introduce to the stage the very handsome and charming JB.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jason Brown, not JB, but most people call me JB. We appreciate everybody coming here this morning. We're very excited about this presentation. Brian just walked you through how we're building solutions on top of what is arguably the most comprehensive set of assets in our marketplace across TV, mobile, and broadband. My role is to talk about what that means. What does that mean today? What can we do in this year's Upfront that we can implement for our brands and partners? And that solves some of the issues that Brian just chatted about. Too many irrelevant ads, too many of the same ads, and how do we reach these elusive TV audiences, specifically light TV viewers and younger viewers? So let's start with the first issue. We saw the video. Consumers don't mind advertising. They just want advertising that speaks to them personally. The solve for this is addressable advertising, which is the ability to serve targeted ads at the household level in TV and to all the devices associated to those television households. What that means in the world of television is that everybody in this room, we could all be watching the same program at the same time in our own homes. And when the commercial break comes on, we all see different ads based on the different characteristics and profiles of our households. And because at AT&T, we essentially have a direct-to-consumer relationship with 1/3 of the US population, we have unique insights that help us understand the performance of those that were exposed to the ad versus unexposed to the ad across all devices. And that's the value, especially in a world where we're all trying to get smarter about device-level management throughout the customer journey. We've been leading the addressable TV space now for almost 7 years. And it's an industry that is now available, the capability of addressable is now available in 75 million households. We, at Xandr, we represent 40% of all sellable impressions across DirecTV and our new partners, Altice and Frontier. Many of you are taking advantage of this incredible opportunity. We thank you for that. We wholeheartedly believe that any marketer that has video assets should have an element of addressable advertising in their media campaigns for 2 reasons. It's a better user experience, especially when you're sending a relevant ad to the right audience. Viewers are more engaged, and that translates to better outcomes. Speaking of outcomes, we wanted to walk you through a couple case studies. And we realize we're getting in the weeds a little bit here, but we think it's important to give you a good feel for the level of accountability and targetability that you receive when you work with Xandr Media on addressable campaigns. So this is an auto manufacturer that we all know. They're trying to connect with our customers that were in market for an SUV in the next 5 months, and that we're also considering a competitive set of vehicles. We worked with Polk, a third-party provider that had the file on this particular cohort. We matched that target list against our addressable footprint, sent the ad to the test group, to 90% of the target. We call that the test group. Held out 10%. We call that the control group. And the reason why we do that is we want to understand the impact of the performance of those that were exposed to the ad versus not exposed to the ad across whatever the client's KPIs are. In this case, it was sales. After the campaign, we sent the exposure files back to Polk where they married it against the dealership sales data. And we saw an increase of 48% in the test group versus the control group. It's also important to include a national sell. And we do this as a point of comparison because those in the test group and the control group, they're already in the target. They're more inclined to buy the purchase or to purchase the car. So comparing to a national sell gives us a better feel for the overall impact of targeting versus broad reach. OK, let's pivot to another issue that we're solving in this year's Upfront. Brian mentioned it earlier, the fact that some viewers are seeing the ads over and over and over again, while other viewers don't see the ads at all. So remember, as Brian just mentioned, we operate one of the largest cable pay TV operators in the US, and with that comes a lot of viewership data from over 40 million set-top boxes. So we see the viewers that are overexposed and underexposed, and we're able to use that data for our brands. So I'm going to show you an example, and we have a lot of examples here, but this is going to illuminate the issues with linear television as it relates to frequency. But no, we've done this hundreds of times, and we see the same patterns pretty much every single time. Also know that this is nobody's fault. This is a technology issue. Up until the introduction of addressable technology, there's really been no way to manage or control frequency at the household level. I'll get one more. Sorry. Okay. So this is a real-life campaign. Remember, all national television schedules run through our set-top boxes, all of them. So we're able to pull this national schedule. And as we see here, this was a 3-month campaign. The demo was 18 to 34. And so what we simply did was we extracted the set-top box information for this particular campaign, and we evenly distributed it across, or dissected it across 10 deciles on 18 to 34-year-old households. And we see here that 83% of the impressions were served to only 34% of the households. Meanwhile, about 1 million households didn't see the ad at all. So notice here, though, that the average household frequency was 2 per week. That's pretty good. And that might have been the frequency that was designed in the planning phase. But as we look under the hood, we see here that we have pretty disproportionate frequency levels. 108 times to decile 10. That is not a good experience. Meanwhile, almost 1 million didn't see the ad whatsoever. And this translates to pretty high CPMs, especially against light TV viewers and medium TV viewers. You can see there $197 in those deciles, and somewhere around here it gets more cost effective. And of course, you're wearing them out here. The solve, again, is the technology of addressable. The technology simply allows you to add a frequency cap, manufacture reach every single time, and control frequency. And what you see is this even distribution across every single decile. It's a much better user experience. It's more effective. And it's much more efficient when you compare it to the cost per incremental reach. With all of our tactics, we support them with real-life case studies, and we've got many of these. This is a CPG advertiser that ran an addressable campaign at the same time as their national TV campaign. So this is within our footprint. But we pulled the data from our set-top boxes, and you can see over the 7 weeks, we increased reach against their target by 26%. This happens every time. It's pretty much an insurance policy. When you use this technology, we're going to increase reach every single time. OK, so let's pivot to another flavor of reach extension, using the technology of addressable to only connect with light TV viewers. Our viewership data, again, allows us to first identify these light TV viewers, and the addressable technology finds them during their infrequent viewing patterns. Dynamic ad insertion over 100+ cable networks also dramatically increases the odds of reaching these viewers successfully. So just as there's scarcity in some of the precision targets we talked about, like in market for a vehicle, there's not a ton of those to go around. The same is true with light TV viewers, just the fact that they're elusive audience. There's just not a lot of them. But we've done the math. We've figured out how many we can put into packages this year. It's a very, obviously, scarce opportunity. But we're very excited to, in this year's Upfront, which we think is an industry first, offer light TV viewer-only packages as part of our Holdco partnerships. OK. Now let's talk a little bit about finding hard-to-reach audiences. Obviously, light TV viewers are hard to reach, but let's talk about it from the perspective of younger viewers. You can imagine at AT&T, with 170 million customer connections across mobile, TV, broadband, no one sees better than us kind of the migration of viewership from device to device, from subscription, from OTT to linear, than we do at AT&T. So it's our pledge to you, our clients, to use this data and this knowledge to help navigate this multi-screen world. And it is a multi-screen world. A world where, on average, consumers use three or more devices to consume content. Yet we see that marketers are only marketing to maybe one of those devices. Meanwhile, consumers who are using one plus device to interact with the brand are 817% more likely to purchase the brand or product. Our solution here is our cross-screen addressable product. The ability to pair an addressable TV campaign at the household level and then extend it to reach all of the devices associated to those addressable TV households. Everything I just talked about, precision targeting, reach management, light TV viewers, we can all extend it beyond the living room TV set to the devices in the household through a product that was built by AppNexus in just a very short 8 months. This is a very robust product that extends into the premium video supply of AppNexus. I'm sure you've heard of a lot of cross-screen capabilities in the marketplace, but they're typically in the digital world, desktop to mobile. Where Xandr differentiates is in our identity graph, the largest pay TV provider in the world, and in the US, married with the second largest mobile footprint. And that puts us in a position to help our partners understand the incrementality of combining both TV and mobile together, TV and digital together. As you heard from Brian, we announced Community, marketplace of premium publishers that enable brands to reach their audiences in premium digital environments. I bring this back up because this inventory is a primary source of our cross-screen addressable product, and it helps us bridge the gap with cord cutters that tend to be younger viewers. I'm really excited about this. So I hope you're getting a sense that we're trying to put the power of buying more effectively back into our partners' hands across all of our opportunities that include brand-safe premium environments, the ability to precision target, manage reach and frequency, and then all wrap it up with robust analytics on the back end, closing the loop. You don't have to listen to me. I'm obviously very passionate about this, but please listen to our partners, and they'll tell you how they feel about these products.
Some of the biggest challenges that we face when buying TV today is the loss of live linear. And when you look at over a 3-year period, those audiences have declined by 33%.
You've had this ratings erosion. You've had, I would call it a marked erosion against younger audiences specifically that do not tune into linear television to the same degree that they ever did. So that, coupled with frankly, a demand still in place, it drives costs up. So that's a challenge.
I think as we've thought about the data that exists and we've thought about the changes in the TV landscape and the way that people watch television, how do we make sure that we're actually reaching the most audience we can possibly reach?
It's important to be able to reach consumers across multiple screens because we know they're fragmenting their media consumption that way. Addressable helps us to manage that across them.
So the way that essentially we use addressable TV today is two ways. One, to find that most valuable consumer, to go after them and make sure that we're getting that messaging across. Or two, to take that audience that's harder to find across the traditional ecosystem and make sure that we're building some frequency and reach against that harder to find consumer.
So Xandr has really done a great job working with us. We helped them a year ago to develop the light TV viewer, knowing that that would be a major target to get people to actually start testing with Xandr. The results have been terrific. It's actually allowed us to get away from the test and get it to become a line item.
Beyond just precision targeting, we're using addressable media to manage reach and frequency. Actually, by capping frequency at the levels that we know we need, we find we're actually able to reach more people than we originally thought using addressable media.
You've got this ability to surgically target a specific audience with a specific message, and in the end, get a better outcome, right? Get a better yield for that investment, and that is what addressable is all about.
So in terms of reaching light TV viewers, it's definitely something that we're using addressable for in a newer way. And I think, you know, we've spent some time with Xandr over the last few months looking at the research in this. And I have to say, the first time that you see one of those runs and the fact that a lot of categories, maybe 70, 80% of your impressions are running against 30% of the audience, there's a whole group of people that you've never even reached. And that's a story that we need to tell.
Please welcome Rick Welday, Donna Speciale, and Mark Wright.
Good morning. This is the celebrity
This is it.
section of the program.
Sorry.
with a
So
British
great.
voice of God.
I know.
You know, it's
My name
perfect.
sounded
My name will
nice, didn't it?
better. That's right.
Speciale.
I want to sincerely thank everybody for being here. We're very honored by your presence. We appreciate your interest in what we're doing, and we hope to get to know you better if we haven't been working with you more closely. People in the overflow rooms, too, we really appreciate you working with us on what is an amazing day where you can actually see your breath on a late spring morning in New York City. A few times I thought it was my coffee, and then Jason and I agreed, no, that's our breath. So listen, we're going to have just a real quick conversation here in respect of your time. My good friends Mark and Donna, we've known each other a long time, worked together a lot. I appreciate you guys being here this morning with us. A lot of interest in data. I'm sure it'll be one of the top words spoken throughout this week. Targeting, attribution, trust, privacy, et cetera. I'd like to start with Donna. When you look at data and your business and all the things that you're doing, and now that you're part of the AT&T family, how do you view data? How do you view it now being part of AT&T?
Yeah, we're thrilled. Listen, this has been 2+ years in the making, that we all know. We're finally here, so we're happy that we're now true brother and sister partners. We got it. But listen, this has been really exciting for us because we have been for 4 or 5 years talking about this vision about really pushing the audience, pushing the business into audience buying. Now that we have the AT&T data at our fingertips and have access to it, obviously through Xandr, we now have been able to really enhance our products and get it to the next foray. So it's exciting, and it's, you know, what's really exciting is that it's not just an ad sales product. I mean, now all of Warner Media has access to the 170 million consumer touch points. So from our marketing perspective, just like Mark does on marketing, we also market our shows as well. So we're using from a marketing perspective, Kevin Riley and Bob Greenblatt are going to be using it also from content and looking at the audiences. We're obviously on all of our platforms where the content and the journey should live. So the whole company is just so thrilled about the data that we now have access to, and it's going to make things a lot faster. You know, that's what we're really excited about. We've used data before. Obviously, it has not been our own, but now having it, you know, live and breathe within our own fingertips, and you guys having access to it, you're going to be able to do a lot more optimizations in real time, just like Brian had said. Precision in digital, we're now going to be able to do precision in television.
Awesome. Mark, how do you think about data as one of the largest buyers of advertising?
Right. So we think about it a lot, obviously. We've been doing this for a while, and I guess I would say up front that, you know, we've been using as a buyer of media, one of the biggest buyers of media, data for some time, even data-driven linear before Xandr was Xandr, right? And doing that to, you know, simply put the right message in front of the right consumer at the right time to produce results. I mean, that's ultimately what, you know, we're measured on as investors, as stewards of AT&T's media budget. My colleagues that are here in the room today, marketing, advertising, AT&T, expect that, right? And so we've been getting results with Xandr, and before that, AdWorks, right? Whether it was the campaign we did late last year on a simple cross-sell message that, you know, put a wireless ad or offer in front of a DirecTV household. We know that the DirecTV households, obviously in our footprint, we wanted to entice them with a wireless offer. We knew they weren't AT&T wireless customers. We did, as JB explained. Sorry, can I call you JB, or should it just be Jason? You know, the test control, we got a lift, right? We got an actual business lift, and that is ultimately what we're measured on, right? Out of that. The next test we did was on the business-to-business side, IP broadband to a business customer in our footprint, right, in our wired footprint, with essentially with a conquesting message to this small business owner that wasn't buying an AT&T business product, right? And that actually resulted in a 27% lift in actual business results. So using data is something we've been doing for some time. It's going to continue to evolve, and it's really evolving now.
Great. I actually remember that cross-screen campaign was with AdWorks prior to becoming Xandr Media. And I'm happy to share with the group, too, because that one was really impressive for us. at AT&T. When we bought DirecTV, everybody knows AT&T is a massive advertiser. I mean, we are doing a lot of advertising on any given day of the week. And I was impressed when we took the approach of addressable technology into that DirecTV base, as Mark described. And on an addressable basis, we saw mobile conversions on an 18% lift, and we ran that campaign to have a cohort that was cross-screen, as Jason described. It was a 27% lift on the cross-screen portion of that. I fast forward to today, and what has been described by Brian and Jason, that cross-screen portion is now gonna be a lot better, candidly, because we're bringing all of that in-house and we're serving that with community. And so I get really excited about how it's evolved from when we've been working together over the years.
Yeah, I mean, we're just getting started, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's light TV viewers in Q1 is something we did because we're a big national TV advertiser. We want to make sure that we're reaching audiences that are hard to reach, and we're doing that as well. So it'll just continue.
Always.
Love it.
Let's talk products. Lots of interest. I know when you and I are out visiting doing our thing, we get a lot of questions around how we're working together and what kind of solutions are we creating together. You want to talk about that?
What the hell are we doing?
Yeah. You want to talk about that, how the advertisers are responding?
Yeah, listen, I'm really excited because you know, you guys have been doing, obviously, addressable, and you've actually had access to the data way before we did. So I'm now just so thrilled because now there's a whole extension of reach that we can now offer to clients. So we've always had our audience products. We now have the data. We're now being able to really hone in and target and really put a lot of attribution and business outcomes. Rick and his team have been able to do it. So now, for those advertisers, and hopefully more to come, that are obviously jumping in and doing audience buying with us, you can now add the addressable aspect to it, and now the cross-screen, and now go into community, and just think about the reach. It's not even necessarily have to be with Warner Media. Now, with the community of what Brian and the team just announced, now think of the enormous reach that you can do now with other brands as well. So I think it's great. We've also been able to extend our social platform, right? We're going out, we're talking about Launchpad. You guys have, a lot of you have been using Launchpad and pushing out our branded content. And one of the things that you've always said, it's great, but how about more? It wasn't scalable. Well, now we've been taking the product and we've been scaling it in the addressable footprint with DirecTV. So now you can take it not just within a social platform, but you can now push it into a much more broader with 78 networks that DirecTV has and push it out. So the expansion and the reach extensions that you now have with both of us together, and it doesn't matter that he's Xandr and we're Warner Media, we look at it as one company, so you can come to either myself or Rick or JB, and together that we're going to make it happen for you.
Perfect. I would emphasize by that. We get questions a lot around how are you guys working together. Suffice it to say, we talk about every day or communicate every day. We talk a lot, but we're constantly trying to figure out what you want, how we can come to market better together for you. And so we welcome your feedback and input on that. We've loved the branded content platform that you've built. Yeah. That Launchpad product is fantastic. Mm-hmm. Having Audience Now extension of your DDL product on our addressable product has been terrific for us.
Listen, and guys, we don't also have all the answers, right? I mean, we come to you, a lot of you one-on-one, and ask you for your feedback. So we need that loop. You know, even with everything that's going on, even with what Brian and the team are doing with community, we're going to need more and more because this is all still new to us. I mean, I'm thrilled that we're finally there. This is a pivotal point right now in our industry that we are now at that point where we're making the change. And hopefully the status quo of all the old demo guarantees are going to be out the door, and this is now the time where we now have this data that we've not had access to before, and to me, this is the time. It's now. It's not future, it's today.
Amen. Mark, some of the solutions that we've been trying to pull together, how do you respond to those?
Yeah, right. So again, I'm going to go back to the family, right? Obviously, we're part of the same company, but we're judged on results. And the results that we got by using and extending a campaign that was addressable, right, in nature, through Turner Audience Now was big. I mean, for me, that was kind of the breakthrough, as I said in the video, about reach extension, because we always knew that with the Xandr or DTV addressable households that we could get surgical in terms of putting a message in front of somebody that we thought would would get us results, but it was just that universe, right? So a campaign that we ran at the end of last year centered around a military product that we had, an offer for current military, past military, or first responders from AT&T and their families. So how do we, first of all, make sure that we're putting that in front of the right household? You guys worked with us. We did that work on putting that message right in the right programming on the addressable universe, but then extending it through Audience Now into the Turner programming is where, you know, for us, that got into, you know, a reasonable amount of homes, right? I mean, you got a national TV network. You're now taking the learning that you had behaviorally, right, from targeting and programming of those military households inside the addressable universe, extending it into Turner programming, and that yielded results as well. We got like an 11% on average lift. The other thing we gleaned out of it, interestingly, was we got a diverse household lift, right? So those are the kind of things that we're going to keep doing that ultimately they yield results.
I like that aha moment. Sometimes when we do and we're using the data and we're doing audience targeting, with a lot of the stuff that we're doing, you get all of a sudden this nugget that you didn't realize that you were going to get. And that to me is the holy grail.
Yeah, because
getting that diversity. We didn't know when we were going down that path of how diverse that audience segment was going to be. And that was like a really great ad.
Because ultimately that should inform the next round, right? What we do with the product offering, or what we do with the media buy going forward.
That describes, I know, how we like to work with our clients as well, just that constant learning process. One last question. Tomorrow you're going to be on stage with some very famous people. It'll be real celebrities and talking about the future. Message, you want to give a preview?
Yeah, no, I can't tell you. No, but here's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about, and you guys kind of did a little bit, is that we now have results. We've been talking about this a lot. This is literally 5 years in the making, and we now have a lot of results and business outcomes that we can now prove that national television can have an ROI just like digital can. We now have the proof points, and clients have been waiting. I mean, a lot of clients have jumped in, but other clients need to see the proof. There's now proof, there's now results. There's now no reason that we shouldn't be doing this.
Perfect. I'll see you there tomorrow. Mark, how are you thinking? New fronts, up fronts, XandrFronts, there's a lot going on this week.
Yeah.
How do you think of this whole time, and what are you looking for?
Well, I mean, ultimately, we hear a lot about audience guarantees or audience buying, and yes, it is going that way, right? I mean, we've, at AT&T, have morphed our approach to investing money in video, right, to reach that hard-to-reach viewer. We'll continue to do that. I guess the one thing that kind of struck me last week, sitting through some of the new fronts, specifically Hulu's, was this thing is starting to meld. I mean, we're in a place now where it's just one video market, and whether you're part of traditional linear media or part of the new media, it really doesn't matter, especially from an investment perspective. Just trying to find the right audience at the right time with our right message is what we are held responsible for, and that is all coming together. And so I think we'll continue to see that.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for your time and the collaboration. And with that, I'm going to have Jason Brown come up and close us out. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
What a great panel. Special shout out to you, Donna. Thank you so much for our ongoing partnership. We're working great with your team as we try to bring unified value together in this upfront marketplace. So listen, we recognize we inserted a pretty tactical upfront presentation in the middle of a week that's focused on the value of professionally produced content. We also we're fully aware that viewers don't come through the front door without awesome content produced from the likes of our partners at Warner Media. We just ask you that once the audiences come through the door, lean into Xandr. Use our technology, our distribution, all the tactics that we talked about, the data, to make your video investments work harder for you in this year's upfront. We appreciate the time. Enjoy the week. Thank you.
Bye.